Entertainment Soldier here, and I am back to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 5, and my thoughts on this episode. This has to be a joke. This has to be a joke. This cannot be a Star Trek episode. I am struggling with this episode because is it the worst one of the season? I mean, the season episode 2 was really bad, but this episode, oh my god, it felt like Discovery. It really did. This episode felt like it was written by a teenage girl struggling with their fucking emotions. That's what Spock also felt like. Didn't feel like Spock. It felt like it was Spock trying to act like he's fucking 15-year-old girl. What the fuck? This entire episode didn't feel like Star Trek. It felt like a fucking soap opera. Oh god, it's so bad. And it felt so fucking long. I mean, I had to keep looking at how long the episode had left. I was done after the first 10 minutes. With Spock acting like a fucking moron. What is the writer's problem with Spock? Oh, and also, what are the problems with the Vulcans? Because they make the Vulcans out to look like really bad people. Without understanding their culture and anything, actually, about the Vulcans. No, they're just fucking racists. They even pretty much... Well, I don't say they're racist, but you know where they're pointing. Okay, in this episode, you know what they're doing. And it's just ridiculous. Oh, and the fucking chapel shit. I am fucking done. We know where them two are going to end up. We do. So, this whole crappy triangle shit, it's so fucking boring. Oh, and Pike. Was Pike in this episode? Oh yeah, he was in this episode, but he was just the chef again. My god, it's been 4, 5 fucking episodes, and all you ever see that cunt do is cook. He's barely been on the bridge. He's barely done anything. We had one episode where he actually did something, and now we're back to Pike just cooking again. Are we finding out about new species? Are we finding out about new civilizations? No, we're finding out, is Spock's marriage going to be okay? Fucking hell. And yes, was there a sciencey bit to this fucking episode? Yeah, if you could call it that. But it's not the focus of the episode. The focus of this episode is such a dumb... Oh, I have to go to spoilers, because I can't spoil it yet, but it just feels insulting. Like, for God's sake, how is it this difficult to write Star Trek? How? Star Trek used to be the pinnacle of science fiction. Used to be the pinnacle. Now, I am literally watching a show where it feels like a teenage drama. Dealing with fucking emotions and feelings. And they keep using Spock for this because he's the one dealing with emotions. It's like, the original series, did Spock deal with his emotions? Yes, but he kind of dealt with them like a fucking man. Not a fucking girl. Oh my god. I can't. This is the worst episode of the season so far. I think it just beats episode 2. It's insulting to even call this a Star Trek episode. It is. I mean, like, I just don't get it. I really don't. Like, who is this episode for? People who love Spock? No, because we know what the real Spock acts like. Not this deranged, bloody, emotional prick. Spock... Oh, God. Let's just get to the spoilers. Listen, it's a 0. It's a 0 out of 10. It's a terrible episode. It's an insult. Whoever writ this, and I'm just going to say this right now, it was obviously a woman who writ this. Okay, it was obvious. It's so fucking stupid. Now, I'm not saying every fucking woman is terrible at writing. I'm not. But this one, it just doesn't feel like a man is writing Spock. It really does feel like, oh my God, how could you fuck this up so badly? How can you fuck this up that badly? Why are you doing this to Spock? Why is he your constant target to take the piss out of every fucking episode? Now, he was... Oh, let's just get to spoilers now. It's a 0 out of 10. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So, the episode starts off with the Enterprise taking some time off and heading to Vulcan. And we then get Nurse Chapel talking about what she's doing on her time off, spending time with the crew, and getting ready to... Well, getting ready for her application to the Vulcan Science Fair or something. So she's really excited about that. She's happy she's going through with it. Then we get the awkward elevator scene where her and Spock are pretty much trying to not acknowledge each other, or at least not pretend they don't have feelings for each other. You know, that shit they've been doing all season long. Again. Then we pass over to Spock, who then also tells us about his average fucking day on the Enterprise. You know, dealing with meetings, cleaning up after human crewmen, talking to Pike in the fucking kitchen again. Pike is in that kitchen more than he is on that fucking bridge. I mean, it's really getting annoying, that is. I mean, it really is. I don't need to see Pike in the kitchen every fucking episode. I really don't. I'm getting kind of really sick of it. And also, Spock, whilst, you know, Pike's talking, kind of tells Pike that it's not really much point of him being here because he doesn't really smell anything from the food, because, you know, that's how Vulcans are. And when Pike kind of asks him about, like, what do humans smell of, it's like, no offense to you, but humans do smell weird to us Vulcans. All that shit. Again, it's just a conversation we didn't really need to know about, but they wanted to tell us that. I just don't care. Why are we wasting time with this? We're in fucking Starfleet. We're on a Federation ship. We are out trying to look for new civilizations and shit. But yet we're having a conversation about Vulcans smelling humans. And about fucking hell. It's so fucking stupid, man. It really is. I just don't care. Why am I watching this episode? Why are we so fucking fixated on Spock's fucking relationship and his marriage? Why am I not fucking seeing alien civilizations? Why am I not fucking seeing a great story anywhere? It's just so fucking shit, this episode. Anyway, after we find out about Spock's day, he goes to his room and gets a message from T'Pau, his fiancée. And she tells him about her mother wanting to bring up the Vishal witch ritual for the wedding because it's time. And Spock's like, okay, we can do that. But then T'Pau pretty much tells him, well, my mother doesn't really like you, and she's trying to use this ritual as a way to stop the marriage. And now you need to kind of worry and get through this ritual without fucking up, because if you fuck up, the marriage is over. Then Spock, why not just end the marriage? Like, for fuck's sake, you obviously are into Chapel. You obviously want to go out with her and not T'Pau. This seems like an easy out to you. So what's the point? Oh yes, we can't do that yet because Spock's not supposed to leave the pole until the original series. Jesus. I just don't care. This fucking storyline is crap. We know where it's going to end. And it's just boring. I just don't care. So Spock goes to Pike, who's finally not in a fucking kitchen. He's just on a table somewhere. And tells him about the whole ritual thing and how he needs to kind of head to Vulcan for that. And Pike says, that's fine with me. We'll take the Enterprise there. And you can get ready for your, vow ritual thing. But Pike offers Spock a little mission to distract him from the ritual that he's worried about. To go study some sort of Nova thing. And Spock says, that's fine, something to take my mind off things. And then Pike pretty much tells him, yeah, but you're not going to be on your own. The next scene is Spock on a shuttle with Chapel. And they're flying to study this anomaly thing. And it turns out to be a time hole in space or something. And then their ship gets too close, it gets sucked in, and then before they know it, they are being sucked into this hole and then are hit by some big force. It knocks out Spock, and we wake up with Spock being looked at by Pike, the Doctor, and Chapel. He was knocked out on the shuttle, and when he wakes up, it turns out that Spock has been turned human. And then we get the stupid line that's supposed to be funny. Spock says, what the F? And then we go to the credits scene. Okay, what the fuck? So after the credits, it all gets explained to Spock. Something happened to him in this anomaly thing that removed all of his Vulcan DNA, and now all he has left is human DNA. And now he has to kind of deal with all the emotions that come with being human, and none of the Vulcan's ability to suppress it. So Spock doesn't really know how to handle this. He's kind of worried now because he has the Vishal ritual to deal with, but he also is trying to deal with his emotions. Next scene is Leanne and Una on the shuttle studying it to find out what happened. Then Leanne finds some sort of calling card from the aliens from the Nova that left, I think it was a receipt. I think that's what it was. Also a way to message them. Because this race that they find is really weird. Because they keep acting like this was a transaction that happened. Anyway, they find this contact thing. They contact the aliens. The aliens explain to them what happened. The shuttle hit them. They then thought it was their duty to fix the shuttle and to fix all personnel on the shuttle. And as Spock and Spock and Chapel were two humans, or at least that's what they thought, they saw Spock's DNA as damaged. So they got rid of all the Vulcan DNA in Spock and made him human. And when Pike tries to say, well, thank you for helping our crew, but you've kind of damaged our crewmen by getting rid of that Vulcan DNA, the species says, no, there was no mistake. Don't contact us again. We did our job. Now leave us alone, basically. So we go back to sickbay, where Spock is now having to deal with all the emotions of being human, like apparently wanting to eat, even though Vulcans eat, and also not to be so emotional and sad and happy at the same time. Like, I get the whole thing about removing the Vulcan DNA and the human being's emotions would probably take over, yes. But humans can control our fucking emotions. It's just unlike Vulcans. When we get angry, we do get fucking angry. When we get sad, we do get fucking sad. We're not... Vulcans are not, like, massively alien. They can just oppress it better than we can. And throughout this episode, it really does feel that the people writing it just don't understand that. They seem to think Vulcans have just gotten rid of all emotions. Like, yes, they haven't gotten rid of it. They've just suppressed it. Like, they're happy, but they're not overly happy. It's really weird. And throughout this episode, Spock just acts like a 15-year-old girl. Throughout. He's over-emotional all the fucking time. And we get a fucking scene, we get these fucking cutscenes all the way through of Spock going over the top, you know, getting angry for literally no reason, laughing like a weirdo when he's talking with all the girls because girls' night, which was really weird. Like, why is... Oh, Jesus Christ. Again, he's a man. Why is he not acting like a man when he's dealing with his emotions? Why is he dealing with them like a fucking woman would? Feeling sad, feeling scared. Like, anger is only one male fucking feeling he ever gets. He doesn't feel like... You never really see passion from him. We didn't get the cringy scene where he's with Pike in the kitchen again. And he starts just eating bacon. Even though Spock's supposed to be fucking vegetarian. And just because he loses his Vulcan DNA, I don't think that would change his eating habits. It's really just weird throughout how Spock deals with his emotions. It just feels like he's just dealing with them like he's a fucking woman. God. So, yeah, we see the whole shit with, you know, Spock having to deal with his emotions. He then goes to Leon to talk about it. And Leon just says, well, this is kind of like what humans go through when they're in their teenage years. You get angry quick. You get sad quick. You see, again, basically, Spock's a teenager dealing with emotions. That's what she pretty much says. And all he's got to do is learn to control them. So Spock pretty much says, I will try to do that in future, and then goes off to try to prepare for his stupid fucking ritual thing. We then go back to sickbay again, where Chapel is trying to find a cure for Spock and to get him to go back to his old self by trying to re-inject his Vulcan DNA back into him to try to get back Spock, basically. But everything she's tried isn't working, and the doc pretty much says to her she needs to calm down, take a break, and just come back at it later. But she then says, we're running out of time. If we don't fix Spock soon, he might be stuck like this for good. And that's not what she wants. Okay? I mean, it looks like he's more friendly towards you. It looks like he's happier with you when he's not a Vulcan, but there you go. But I will give him credit for this. She's just caring about the patient, not her own feelings. Okay. Oh, she also gets a message from the Vulcan Academy where the Vulcans get shown as right twats again, where this Vulcan is just being an outright dick towards him. I mean, towards her. For no reason. Again, this shit is just really weird. Like, the Vulcans aren't like this. Yes, they're a bit uptight at some points. They are. But they're not insulting. And that's why it feels like they don't like humans. They see them as humans as beneath them. Again, that doesn't make fucking sense. The Vulcans are a very inclusive people. It's just they don't fucking have emotions all the fucking time. Oh my god. The Vulcans get really, like, badly represented in this fucking episode. You really want to punch a couple of them out. It's just, you just notice it's not real Vulcans. Anyway, so the Vulcan insults Chaplin, pretty much says, I don't really think you should be coming to my academy because you're human. But he says, I'll look at your work and I'll talk to you later, and he ends the call. And Chaplin kind of feels upset about this, and then bumps into Spock, and then Spock sees that she needs a hug, and he gives her a hug. Or maybe I should say she gives Chaplin a hug, because bloody hell, he acts like a bitch throughout this episode. And apparently that's what Chaplin needed. She feels a lot happier, and then Spock has to he has to go deal with somebody in the transporter who turns out to be his mother. And then that petrifies Spock because, well, he hasn't really told anybody on Vulcan what happened to him. So Spock puts a beanie on. So yeah, apparently Starfleet has beanies now. Okay, he doesn't look like a moron at all in this scene. It's so dumb. It's again, why is it always Spock you have to make look like a fucking moron throughout this show? Why is it Spock? Jesus. So yeah, Spock's trying to pretend to be a Vulcan, but his mother's not really stupid. She kind of sees that, yeah, he's human, tells him to take the hat off, and then she sees, yeah, no spiky ears, so what the hell happened? Spock explains to her about the accident, and then they now need to figure out a way of how they get through the Vichy ritual without fucking it up and having the marriage cancelled by T'Pol's family. So the mother is going to teach Spock how to lie and how to get through the ritual. And the first part of the ritual is the ceremonial tea from a pot that has no handle, so when you grab the pot, it burns the fuck out your hands. But she has to remind Spock that Vulcans don't feel pain, or at least they don't show that they feel pain. And this is what they do to show respect to the other family when they're making their tea. So Spock has to try to deal with being a Vulcan, but not having the ability to suppress his emotions and his pain. Fine. Oh, and Pike's also there to try to help him, and Una. He also has to pretend to do a Vulcan mind meld with his mum, and Spock apparently has just completely forgotten how to act like a fucking Vulcan, and how to, like, what, I mean, I'm sorry, this doesn't make sense. Yes, he had his Vulcan parts of him taken out, but why is he completely forgotten how to be a Vulcan? Just because you lose the DNA of a Vulcan doesn't mean you lose your lifetime experience of being a fucking Vulcan. Like, it's really stupid. Why would he not know how to do these things? How would he not know how to act as a fucking Vulcan? Just because his DNA's gone. It's so fucking stupid. God. So basically the mother's kind of not sure they can go through with it because he's kind of struggling to be a Vulcan. But Spock says no, they can't cancel it. They need to go on with it. They need to get this done so the marriage can continue. So T'Pol beams aboard the Enterprise a bit early because she's kind of sick of her mum, and Spock goes to meet her and try to calm her down, but doesn't tell her about the fact that he's human now, which is a bit weird when you kind of think, shouldn't you tell her so she can kind of help you get through this? Like, why are you not trusting your wife, Spock? The woman you're trying to be with for the rest of your life. You've told every other person on the fucking ship, but not the woman who you intend to be with. It's very stupid. Oh, I also forgot the cringe-worthy scene where Spock was getting taught how to speak like a Vulcan by all the female members of the crew. It was just a cringe-worthy scene. It was just terrible. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, so I'm sorry. It's just insulting at this point that this is entertainment to these morons. This, like, acting like Vulcans are just stuck up wankers. It's like, no. They're a proud people. It's not funny. It really isn't. So the next scene, Chapel realises she cannot fix Spock on her own. So she decides to go to the aliens who fucked up Spock and ask them to help. And so she grabs a shuttle, takes Ahura and Erica to go talk to the aliens. While she's doing that, Spock is with T'Pau getting ready for the ceremony. T'Pau makes a joke and Spock tries desperately not to laugh. And then the mother and father of T'Pau beam aboard the Enterprise. They head off to do the ceremony. Pike is also there, and guess what he did whilst, Spock was trying to become a Vulcan again? He was cooking up a bunch of Vulcan dishes. He hands some Vulcan food to the father, and the father seems to enjoy the food, but the woman, who's basically the boss in this marriage, tells him, no, you don't like that. It tastes like shit, basically, even though she hasn't tasted any of Pike's food. Again, they seem to not like the Vulcans at all. Like, why is this woman being so much of a cunt towards humans? There's no explanation for this. Other than, well, the Vulcans, they're just not really inclusive people. Fuck off with that shit. They go around the fucking galaxy helping other cultures. Like, they literally came to Earth when we were at our lowest point and helped us. But yet they seem to look down on us. That makes no fucking sense. Now, I don't just blame Strange New Worlds for this. This stuff has kind of happened because of Enterprise. They did kind of turn the Vulcans into, like, assholes. But in the final season, they did kind of show the Vulcans, evolved and were going back to being normal Vulcans. And now this episode, they seem to have brought them back to being utter bastards. And I don't know why. Oh, actually, I do know why. They need Spock to be a fucking victim. Why? Why can't Spock just be the clever science guy who's a fucking amazing character? Why can't he just be that character? Why do I need to see Spock as a 15-year-old girl dealing with their emotions like a twat? Why do I need to see that? Can you explain it to me, writers? How is this interesting? How is this entertaining? Fuck. So we go through the ritual where Spock has to grab the pot with the tea in it. Again, he's not Vulcan, so this is massively painful for him to move the pot. But he does it. T'Pol tries to help him. And again, you can see T'Pol actually really loves Spock throughout this episode. So it's really weird that in a couple of years Spock is going to be trying to divorce her, or she's going to try to divorce Spock. Because I get it, they're going to try to use Chapel as the reason T'Pol hates Spock. That's definitely going to happen. But again, it kind of just seems weird. She kind of seems like a devoted wife who Spock just seems to want to just get rid of because he found a hotter blonde, basically. It's just, and again, I think the T'Pau is hotter than Chapel. But anyway, so he does the tea thing. Then we get the ceremony of basically Vulcans insulting each other, because that's obviously what Vulcans do with each other. They just insult each other, but it's called, building people up. I mean, fine, that's what Vulcans do. It wasn't ever about, fixing people and trying to inform them about their flaws. No. This was basically a scene where the mother just said, Spock, you're a waste of space human who needs to piss off, basically. And then Spock has to leave to go to the toilet a bit, but what he's actually doing is he's going into the toilet to act like a twat and start shouting. You know that shitty scene you saw in the trailer where he's punching the air and being an idiot? Yeah, that's why he did it, because the mother insulted him. Because humans have never been insulted and had to bite their fucking tongues. Fuck off. But he comes back, and I should also mention Chapel meets back up with the aliens and tries to talk to them, and the aliens keep trying to tell her, we didn't get it wrong, we fixed Spock, everything's good, the transaction is over. This species might have been interesting if we could actually have focused on them and not on Spock's emotional shite. This species seems really interesting. What were they called? The Kirchhoffs. The Kirchhoff species. So this species is very powerful, that they can fix ships and fix DNA. So is the Enterprise trying to make contact with them, trying to establish communication, or just... No, nothing. They just left them behind and just said, we'll focus on Spock's shit. Like, why? That was an interesting story we could have gone into. Like, how does this species live? What is this species about? They don't have bodies, they're more liquid form. Why don't we learn about that shit? Why don't we actually learn about something interesting, not the fact Spock is having a bitch fit? Fuck. But eventually she's able to get through to the aliens, because apparently the alien she was speaking to was blue and she needs to talk to yellow. By the way, this kind of feels like more of a business species, because they keep talking like in business talk, basically, like transactions, your complaint's not really warranted and all that shit. Again, a very interesting species we could have learnt about, but no, we couldn't, because bullshit story about Spock needs to happen. So Chapel gets the aliens to help. They do. They give her basically the fucking cure. And then we go back to Spock, who's... he gets kind of insulted by T'Pol's mother. Chapel gives him the cure, but before she does give him the cure, she tries to find out, does Spock love her? And the aliens also informed her that Spock turned off his shields to give it to Chapel to protect her. I mean, to save her from the blast or from the Nova. So yeah, that's how Chapel actually got the aliens to help her, because they saw that Spock cared about her, and she pretty much told them that she loves Spock. So yeah, before she gives him the cure, she tries to get Spock to say that, but before he can say that he loves her, she gives him the cure, and now he's back to being original Spock. Or at least this show's version of original Spock. So then he goes back to finish the ceremony, whilst T'Pol is pretty much seeing the situation, basically. Like, she's seeing the way they're acting with each other. She notices that Spock's become more close with her, and that's pretty much pissing her off, basically. And then Spock comes in to finish the ceremony, and then the mother insults Spock again, and then Spock just says, fuck this, I've had enough of you insulting my mother and my human side. He takes off his fake ears that he got to pretend to be Vulcan, and says that his mother is the best person ever because she's had to deal with you racist bastards, basically. And that seems to shut up the mother, because then T'Pol also steps in to defend Spock and says that her mother needs to accept the union because she is still going to go through with it. And so the mother relents and says, fine, I accept the marriage, good luck Spock, see you at the wedding, basically. And then the final scene is basically T'Pol asking Spock why he didn't trust her. Why he didn't tell her about the condition he was in and why he still sees her as a threat or something. Doesn't trust her, doesn't believe that she accepts him for who she is, even though she said it about 100 times. And Spock kind of pretty much realizes he's made a mistake and he should have trusted her, but I don't know. Apparently he didn't want to go through with the whole explaining the whole situation to her, even though if he had told her what has happened to him, maybe she could have helped. Maybe she could have guided him a bit better. Maybe she could have held off her family for a bit. And by the way, that species needed a family link to help Spock. Why didn't you just go get the mother and take her over in a shuttle to go talk to the aliens? As she's the mother, wouldn't that also make the contract, better? Than just apparently Spock might like this woman that he saved? It's fucking stupid. Anyway, so T'Pol says Spock and her need a break. And Spock doesn't really want this to happen, but T'Pol's forced the issue and then leaves so that they can spend more time apart from each other. Like, that's going to be good for their relationship. Spending time apart from each other is definitely doing their relationship a world of good. Again, I'm watching a soap opera, not a Star Trek show. We need to take a break? Am I watching Friends now? Fuck off, man. But then the last scene is Spock praising his mother for being such a strong person to deal with all the racists on Vulcan. He also mentions about the Katra that they had together, about how how his first day of school went when Vulcan children invited Spock to play with him, and Spock remembers that he was accepted by the Vulcans, but his mother was never accepted by any of the Vulcan mothers, and how it's been hard for her to be on a planet with a bunch of racists. Because that is what they were implying in this fucking episode. And she says, doesn't matter, we humans have become very inclusive, and eventually basically everybody will become inclusive. And so she leaves with a hug from her son, and then we get the whole Spock Chapel ending where Chapel goes to visit him. He pretty much says, I love you, and they snog each other, and that's how the episode ends. Shit episode. Waste of fucking time. This is the worst episode of season 2, in my opinion. And I have to say so far, because we do have the Boimler Mariner episode coming up, so I don't know how bad that's going to be. But that's it. That's the end of the video. If you like the video, give it a like. If you dislike the video, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. And if you do have a comment, I will try to get back to it as soon as I can. Entertainment More Soldier. Bye.